This is the first day of President Trump's new travel ban. It bars most people from a dozen countries from traveling here to the United States. Tonight, organizations are pushing back, calling the ban illegal and discriminatory.
The recent implementation of updated travel restrictions by the Trump administration is causing chaos. This new rule is casting a long shadow over the aspirations of international students and deeply impacting communities across the United States, fostering widespread anxiety and sparking vocal opposition. So what actually is Trump up to? Let's find out. Immigration attorney Dan Berger, based in Northampton, Massachusetts, underscores the precarious situation facing students from nations targeted by the ban. While current students holding valid visas or physically present in the U.S., when the restrictions took effect, may retain their status, a significant hurdle now exists for prospective students from the 12 countries facing full entry bars and the 7 under partial restrictions. Berger confirms that those planning to commence studies this fall who haven't yet secured visas are effectively blocked from obtaining them under the new policy. The challenges extend beyond initial entry. Student visas typically remain valid for 5 years, contingent on program length, and generally don't require renewal for approved absences shorter than 5 months. However, students needing to leave for extended periods, such as for study abroad programs, often face visa renewal upon return. For students from the affected countries, Berger indicates this renewal process is now fraught with uncertainty. These individuals, he warns, should anticipate additional scrutiny at every step of the immigration process if they attempt to re-enter after a prolonged absence. This ambiguity compounds the distress felt by current students, who Berger describes as nervous about their future mobility and academic continuity. The emotional toll is profound, with Berger noting that some people who think they may not be able to live out their dream are devastated. Critical questions remain unanswered, adding to the pervasive sense of instability. Berger highlights ongoing concerns. Even if they're not covered by the travel ban, will students be able to get their visas in time? Will they be able to come to the U.S.? And once they come to the U.S., will they be able to travel and see their families or do field work or do other things or study abroad while they're here? He anticipates continued uncertainty, emphasizing the unpredictable nature of potential future policy shifts within the next few months. This atmosphere of fear and disruption resonated powerfully during a rally in downtown Chicago, where dozens of community leaders and activists gathered to denounce the travel restrictions. Nadia Al-Yafai, an organizer with the Arab American Action Network and a Yemeni American, delivered a forceful condemnation, stating the policy is undeniably rooted in anti-Muslim, anti-Black, and anti-Arab racism. Al-Yafai painted a stark picture of her community living under deep fear and anxiety, noting that even legal permanent residents of Yemeni origin feel no safety or security. She expressed grave concerns for African and Arab communities citywide, fearing the ban will fuel escalating attacks against them. The travel ban represents a deliberately targeted effort to undermine our rights, our freedoms, and our dignities, Al-Yafai asserted. The human cost, she stressed, is the further tearing apart of families, making reunification with loved ones and elders abroad impossible solely based on nationality. Organizers at the Chicago event also linked the travel restrictions directly to broader concerns about intensified immigration and customs enforcement, ICE, operations nationwide, characterizing the ban as an extension and continuation of attacks on immigrants and the marginalized. The human cost of the Trump administration's expanded travel restrictions is becoming starkly clear, extending beyond the disruption to international students and casting a shadow of permanent separation over American families with ties to the affected nations. Raquel Fernandez, a U.S. citizen and immigration attorney of Venezuelan descent, shared a deeply personal fear with NBC News. The very real possibility that she may never see her elderly grandparents again. Residing in Venezuela, which is now subject to the ban, her grandparents are in their 80s and 90s. Fernandez explained that her grandfather's tourist visa had expired and her family was actively working to renew it this year before the ban halted those plans. They're older in age, and if this ban continues and their visas are all expired, I won't be able to see them ever again, which is heartbreaking, said the 33-year-old Fernandez, adding, I try to keep myself from thinking about it. Compounding her distress is Venezuela's placement in the U.S. State Department's Do Not Travel list, preventing Fernandez from visiting them there since 2012. She emphasized her grandparents' history of strict compliance, noting they have traveled to the U.S. on tourism visas since the 1980s and 90s without ever overstaying. Like many others, Fernandez described her family's situation as being in limbo, waiting to see what will happen and how long this will last. This profound personal uncertainty mirrors the wider anxieties gripping higher education institutions and thousands of international students. Recent data from Open Doors, a nonprofit supported by the U.S. Department of State, highlights the scale of international education in America, reporting over 1.1 million students from more than 200 countries studied at U.S. colleges and universities during the 2023-24 academic year. An NBC News analysis of this data revealed that 18,926 students originated from the 12 countries now facing a full U.S. entry ban, with an additional 5,339 students coming from the 7 nations under partial restrictions. Among these 19 countries, Iran sends the most students to the U.S., totaling 12,430 last year. Notably, nearly half, 45.8%, of these Iranian students were enrolled in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM fields. The immediate impact of the June 4th travel restrictions, as reported by the education news site Inside Higher Ed, could deal a major blow to U.S. international student enrollment this fall. While students already in the U.S. or holding valid visas are not immediately affected, the proclamation creates a significant barrier for newly admitted students. Inside Higher Ed noted that many admitted international students were already facing significant delays in the visa process, which the State Department halted just weeks before the ban was announced. The new restrictions now make it highly likely that thousands of students from the banned countries will be prevented from arriving for the fall semester, disrupting university enrollment projections and plans across the country. In response to these far-reaching consequences, opposition is mobilizing. Immigration advocates and community organizations are planning a protest rally scheduled for Monday morning in New York City's Foley Square. The demonstration aims to voice strong objection to the travel ban, which primarily targets nations in Africa and the Middle East. The rally is expected to feature speeches from several prominent city and nonprofit leaders, including Linda Sarsour, known for her role as co-chair of the 2017 Women's March, and as executive director of the Muslim grassroots organization Empower Change. This gathering underscores the growing concern that the policy is not only disrupting education and family bonds, but also fundamentally altering the landscape of opportunity and connection for communities linked to the targeted regions. As this significant new directive from the Trump administration takes effect, it's imposing substantial barriers to entry into the United States for citizens of numerous countries. The policy fully bans entry for nationals from 12 nations: Afghanistan, Myanmar, Chad, Republic of Congo, Equatorial Guinea, Eritrea, Haiti, Iran, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and Yemen. Additionally, it institutes partial bans and specific visa restrictions affecting travelers from Burundi, Cuba, Laos, Sierra Leone, Togo, Turkmenistan, and Venezuela. This move marks a significant departure from previous policy, though it echoes similar restrictions implemented during President Trump's first term in office. Notably, 9 of the countries included in this latest proclamation were also targeted under the previous administration's travel ban policies, including Iran, Libya, and Venezuela. According to data released by the U.S. State Department, approximately 139,000 visas were issued to visitors from these 19 countries during the 2023 fiscal year. Among these nations, visitors from Venezuela received the highest number of visas. Tourism and business visas constituted the most common categories issued across all the listed countries. The administration's proclamation justifying the restrictions cites ongoing security and terrorism risks as a primary motivation. It specifically points to concerns about visitors from several of these nations overstaying their visas beyond the permitted expiration dates. However, data provided by the Department of Homeland Security presents a more nuanced picture regarding visa overstays. While acknowledging that several of the targeted countries did exhibit relatively high overstay rates during the 2023 fiscal year, the DHS figures indicate that the actual number of individuals overstaying visas from these countries was comparatively low. This discrepancy between the stated rationale based on security risks and overstay concerns and the scale of the actual overstayed numbers reported by DHS is likely to fuel further debate about the policy's scope and proportionality. Don't you think the broad scope of these new restrictions, impacting such a diverse group of nations, is already causing significant unrest amongst people? Let us know in the comments what you think of the whole situation, and if you want to stay on top of this, smash that like and subscribe button.